Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video called Building a House in Germany in 2023. So it looks very interesting. Hopefully we're going to be learning more about like the cost and maybe like how the construction is made. So let's check it out and comment, like and subscribe.
How to build a house in Germany. Hey there, welcome back to Lippenfriend, your favorite channel dedicated to buying a home. My name is Mike and today we'll guide you through the process of building your own home in Germany. So let's get started. Before we get into the details, let's talk about why and when building your own home can make sense. Apart from the most obvious advantages, for example that you can choose your own layout and interior design, you will also be able to save a significant amount of money. So how does that work?
Cheaper?
Well, when you buy property, you always have to pay the purchase fees on the side. These are the notary cost, the property transfer tax, and the real estate agent's fees.
Course, yeah.
However, when you decide to build the home on yourself, you only have to pay these fees on the plot of land, not on the building itself. This way, you are able to significantly reduce the amount of purchase fees that you have to pay on site and therefore save a lot of equity.
But you're going to have to...
Now let's discuss the process of
I don't know, but I'm thinking, yes, but the money I'm saving there, I'm saving money there. But then, the big like chunk of it, it's going to come when I have to like buy the building materials and I have to pay the construction workers and I have to pay like the construction company. I don't know. So I would love to see the numbers and see how they compare because yes, one, it's definitely cheaper, but long term, I don't know which one's actually cheaper. I don't know, but I would love to know.
Building a house. First of all, you want to find a plot of land that you can build on. Usually there are two kinds of plots. Plots that are totally empty and some with existing properties that you might have to demolish.
Oh,
Second option is often cheaper, even if you have to pay the demolition costs for the existing property. Just be aware that these costs cannot be financed by a bank, but you would have to pay this from your own equity. So just keep that in mind if you have limited savings. Another thing that you should keep in mind is to check the plot if it really meets your requirements and if you're allowed to realize the property project at all.
Yeah,
some of the things you should check in advance are the area. Make sure that there are schools, supermarkets, etc. nearby. The infrastructure. Make sure you have access to buses, trams, train stations, etc. Access roads to your lands. Is the property already developed? Are there streets available, etc. The quality of land. What kind of layout is it? What kind of earth do you have? Are you able to build the house and the surroundings as you want to? The development plan. Are there already other buildings planned? Might there be a different infrastructure or kindergartens, etc. in the future as well? And of course, the neighbors and people living in that area. Do you blend in? Are you feeling comfortable living with them people on a daily basis? In addition to the purchase cost, you also have to pay closing costs to make the land usable at all. This can include supply like water, gas, and electricity. Sometimes there are additional costs for sidewalks, road access, street lighting, telephone, etc. However, there are also plots of land that are already fully developed. So you want to inform yourself in the very beginning if that's already the case or if you have to add the additional cost. The good thing is, banks will be able to finance this additional cost via mortgage as well. So you don't have to invest additional equity on your own. Securing a building permit, or in German Baugenehmigung, is a crucial part of the process. This permit will be issued by the local building authority. In German it's called Bauamt, and indicates that it has no reservations towards your future planned home in terms of legal regulation. To obtain one, you need to send detailed plans and specifications about your planned home to the local Bauamt. This process can be very complex and time-consuming, involving a lot of regulations, environmental assessments, and much more. It's highly recommended to hire a local architect or consultant to guide you through the whole process and help you where needed. Now that you have your plot and permit, it's time to choose the house type that you can build. There are various types that you can choose from traditional detached houses to eco-friendly designs or modern townhouses. When you have chosen the house type that you want to build, now you have to decide on a construction method. Usually, there are 3 different construction methods on the market: the solid house, the prefabricated house, and the wooden house. The solid house, or in German Massivhaus, is built both inside and outside from solid materials, such as concrete or sandstone brick. It's usually built up stone by stone on a plot of land and then individually planned by an architect. Usually it takes around 8 to 12 months to build such a house, which is also due to the long drying times of the material. Solid houses are usually more expensive, but they are also very durable. Prefabricated houses, or Fertighäuser, are based on a wooden frame or reinforced concrete and later just assembled on the plot itself. The individual parts of the house are pre-manufactured in the factory and later just assembled on the plot itself. Prefabricated houses are often cheaper and much faster to build.
Cheaper.
The shell of the house can be done in only 2 days, and the house itself will be ready within 180 or 370 days
That's
after
an insane
ordering.
amount.
However, keep in mind that there's often no basement in these kind of properties since no foundation will be poured. Also, they are generally lower in value stability. The third type is the wooden house, or in German Holzhaus. These are made of local wood and need good thermal isolation. As with prefabricated houses, these are usually much cheaper than solid houses. Generally, you can move into your new home within 6 months after ordering a house. However, there are some disadvantages to these kind of property. For example, higher insurance costs and higher sensitivity to outside weather conditions.
Of course.
While building your own home is certainly exciting, you also have to be aware of potential pitfalls that may occur. Construction delays, additional costs, or later changes in the property plans can all impact your timeline and budget. Also, you should be aware that during the construction phase, you also have to pay costs. Once the mortgage is partially paid out, you have to pay the interest rates. On top of that, possible commitment fees may apply. All this while you still
you can't just like leave the thing half finished.
Yet live in your own home. Just be aware when planning your budget for the whole property.
I hadn't thought of that, yes.
Remember, each step of the process requires careful planning and research. But with the right guidance, you can make your dream home become a reality. If you have any questions or need expert assistance, feel free to reach out to us at HypoFriend. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification button to get informed about more useful content. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and until next time.
Yeah, they made for like some really interesting points that I hadn't actually thought of before. It's like, oh yeah, it makes sense. Not just obviously like the amount of money that's gonna take you, as in like, you know, you obviously have like a budget. I think when you're like buying a house, you're thinking, okay, well, maybe my budget is, I don't know, like whatever, how the amount that it is. But yes, I think you obviously need to have more because it's like, you know, things happen. Maybe, you know, I don't know, there was, you know, bad weather, a bad winter, something happened. So you're going to have more money than you would previously. Like you might allowed budget is, I don't know, like $50,000. I know that obviously that's not, no house is going to cost you that, but it's like, let's say it's $50,000, like in the whole, like for the house, like the whole building process. But yes, you're going to have to take like on top of that, it's like, yes, but you need to pay, of course, like all the fees that you have to, you know, to close the deal, is as in like the actual landowner. And of course that's on you, and you have to like pay those, which I know that those can get like pretty expensive. And besides that, of course, like stuff happens, delayed happens, and you know, there's like some things that you don't always see it coming, and obviously you're expecting everything to go smoothly, but you know, sometimes again you can't predict stuff, and something like life happens, and you're gonna have to pay that as well. So maybe again it's like 50,000, but then it's like, yes, with the fees and all, maybe it gets like to 60, and then like some unexpected stuff happens, and it climbs up to like 70, and it's like, oh my god, okay, so you need to have like more money than you think that you would have thought of. Like, oh yeah, I did the research and the house that I want to build, like, you know, I already did my research and like the materials and how much it's going to cost me, like to, you know, to hire a construction company that does it, or I don't know, because I think obviously you have to always constantly you have to pay an architect as well, because obviously you're not going to build a house. Like I have it in my brain as like, oh, I want my dream house, and I'm thinking, yes, I want this and this and that. But I am pretty aware of the fact that I'm not an engineer, I'm not an architect. Obviously, I'm going to have to work with someone that actually knows what they're doing for them to help me build this house and help me like do the layout and obviously help me choose like the right materials and tell me if what I want is actually feasible, because I know that not always so what you have in like in your mind and in your like dream situation, it's always like in the reality, maybe that's not the case, that cannot be done, or maybe it cannot be done in the actual place that you want to, in the piece of land that you bought. So I think obviously you would need to get, you know, I think maybe the whole process, I think I would definitely go first with an architect, and then, you know, they would to help design the house, and then after they were like, yes, you know, the house it's like the layouts look good, maybe we can start looking forward, you know, the actual like lot that where it's going to be built. But I would definitely do my research and like take their advice and be like, yes, but this land feasible for where I want to build. I wouldn't just buy the land and then I would go like, okay, well now it's time to get an architect or an engineer so they can like tell me what kind of house I want to build, especially because I'm going at it from the perspective of like, if I'm buying a house, and not even just like buying it, I'm not buying it as in like, oh, maybe I'm going to do some like remodeling. I think the emphasis here is more of like, we're building maybe a house of like, I want to build a house that's just, my dream house, the house that I've always dreamed of. Not necessarily it's going to be like that, because maybe again, it's going to be like more expensive. It's not going to be like, because my dream house, I can't really afford that. But I think I'm coming at it from the place of like, if I'm making the effort of actually like buying a house, I think I want it as close to like my dream house as possible. I don't know, or maybe you have to like lower your expectations a little bit and be like, maybe not now, but maybe down the line I can maybe sell this, and maybe I can like actually build my dream house in like 20 years once I've made a profit out of it. I don't know. But I think it's like very interesting things that I hadn't really thought of. And obviously about the costs, there's something that it hadn't occurred to me, that it's like, oh yeah, it sounds so silly, but it makes a lot of sense. It's like, while the house is being built, which, can last up, again, if you want like a cheaper house, maybe you can actually, I'm surprised by the amount of time it takes. It's just like less than 300 days, like what, like 3-4 months, around 4 months maybe. And it's like, yes, you can, that's a cheaper option, but maybe if you're buying, or if you're building like a house that's going to take longer to build, you're going to have to live somewhere while this happens. And I hadn't thought of the fact that, oh yes, I'm going to have to keep paying rent in whatever the place that I am in, because the house is not done. So it's like, oh, it's so silly of me to have never thought of this. But it's like, yes, of course I have to like, you have to like put that in the budget as well. Because it's like, yes, again, with my earlier example of like, yes, I have like $70,000 that it's my allotted budget, but I'm gonna have to keep paying rent for the amount of time that it takes. And of course, again, because delays happen, I'm gonna have to like, reserve a little bit more money just in case something happens and I have to keep living here a bit longer. So it is like, even the cost, I think, can increase up to like, I don't know, 20-30% of what you actually think the house is gonna cost and what it actually ends up costing. I don't know. That's just maybe me, that I'm thinking like, worst case scenario, I think it's better to be prepared. But if I'm actually like, if I were building a house, I think I would be like, okay, so yes, I already did the math, and it's whatever amount it is. I wouldn't go like, yes, okay, now I'm ready. It's like, no, I would need like more money. I think I need more money. I think I need even 30 or 40% of that amount, just to have like a good cushion of like, if something happens, I know I'm going to be able to pay it. And I didn't know that you also have to pay, like, there's some sort of like fee if you're like a commitment fee or something of the sort, which I understood it correctly, is that you can't just like bail in the middle of the process of like, I'm realizing this is going to cost extra and this is going to cost a lot of money that I hadn't really thought of before, so I'm gonna peace out and say, hey, bye, I've changed my mind. You can't really do that, because there's some fees that you have to pay. Obviously I get it for like wasting everyone's time, so it is like, okay, I need to pay that as well. So you're like, you're already committed to it, and not just committed as in like, oh, it's committed. It's like, no, you're committed as in monetarily committed to this. So it is like, I already put money on here, and it's gonna be like, even like, it's gonna be 10 times worse if I actually like say, no, I changed my mind. So it is actually like a huge commitment that I hadn't really, like, you have to really do think about these kind of things. It's like, I think, again, building a house, and when you're thinking about, oh, building a house, it sounds so like charming and sounds so like great. I think it's like, oh, it sounds amazing. Yes, you're gonna have to like, I'm gonna build my house, and I'm gonna build my dream house, or a house like, it's very like how I want it to be. But it's like, have you actually thought of this? It's like, no, I actually hadn't thought of the reality of like, yes, stuff happens, and it's gonna cost you more, and it's gonna be a whole lot of things. And actually the compromise that it takes, I think that's probably the most important part of the process, is like, once you're there, like, you're there. Like, it's not something that you can just like bail. You can like, no, I already regret this. Even if some things, like, I think you can compare like, some life things that take like a really amount of commitment, like even marriage. But it's like, no, you can always get divorced. Or it's like, no, maybe it's akin to like having a child, I don't know, something that, you know, you can't really undo this. It's like, unless maybe you can undo it, not I'm comparing to like having a child, but this part of the process, I think you can't really get rid of it unless that you go through the whole thing, and then maybe on the line you prefer to sell it. That while the whole thing is happening, like you're there and you can't really bail, which I think, wow, you know, I hadn't thought of this, but this video is making me kind of like to think about the realities of it all, that it's not as simple as maybe as I had once thought of. It's like, well, yeah, I know it was a big process and it takes like a long amount of time, but it's not the amount of time that it takes, it's just the amount of like bureaucracy it takes. You have to like sign so many papers, and they have to like give you a lot of permits, and you have to like pay the fees on the land, and you also have to pay the fees on the transfer, and then you have to like build the actual house. It's like, oh my god, so many things, and it's like the unfeasible. Of course, I hadn't thought of like you're obviously thinking, well, does this plot of land have the necessary things that I need in order to like actually again live here? You know, has electricity, phone lines, internet, whatever, water. You obviously need to have, you know, the location. I think obviously it's very important. Like, is it located near to my workplace? Is it located near to like places restaurants that I like? I don't know, there's like things that I enjoy. Is it near, you know, bus lines that are going to make it easier for me to like move around? The streets is like, I hadn't thought of this. Maybe like do not buy a house or do not buy a plot of land in the middle of nowhere if the actual like place is not developed, because it's like, what are you going to do unless you want to live in the cabin in the middle of nowhere? If that's your preference, then great, go for it. But I don't think that's the case for a lot of people. So it is like, yes, I need a place that is actually developed, and the neighbors, I hadn't thought of that before. It's like, oh yeah, you know, thinking about like you're gonna have to like interact, maybe, well, I don't know in Germany how much you interact with neighbors, but at least, you know, the actual, I don't know, the location is, do you feel nice in this neighborhood? I think a lot of times I think you tend to focus on like the actual like things of like, oh, you know, there's like a supermarket nearby, or, you know, it's close to like my workplace. But do you really enjoy like this area? Do you feel comfortable living in it? Do you actually see yourself? Do I actually like imagine myself like getting up every morning here and like coming out and like walking down the street? Is it a place? Is it in an area that I actually feel comfortable in? I think that's very important, and I don't really think that's really talked about enough. It's like, he makes for a really good point, because it's like, yes, you know, you're right. It's not just about the actual location, as in like there's stuff nearby that you actually need for your lifestyle, but also, again, do you actually feel comfortable in this place? Like, do you fit in? Do you feel like, yes, I actually like this area? It's like, yes, again, I hadn't thought of that. And again, with the three like different type of houses, you know, the wooden house, the pre-made house, and the actual like building of like the concrete or I think cement, is that I've said it before, I would always go for like the durable house that, yes, even maybe it's not gonna be cheap. It's gonna cost you extra, but I think the cost, like, it's gonna be, even if you sell it down the line, you're gonna earn more, and it's gonna be a more, like, maybe a safer place to actually live in. I think I would be more comfortable living in a place like that. And the wooden house, of course, is like gonna be like it's flammable. It's that, you know, maybe it's not gonna be, you don't really know what's gonna happen down the line. So maybe it's gonna be earthquakes, I don't know, a crazy storm, and your house gonna be destroyed. I don't know. It's like, it's cheaper, but I think you have to always think about long-term situations. And I don't know if I would venture to say, like, don't even, because some people actually do prefer the look of these houses, and the pre-made like fabricated ones I think are a great like choice. Maybe it's like the middle kind of choice between like wooden house and a concrete house, because it's like, it's sturdier than the wooden ones, and I think it's even more durable, and maybe it's not that like, it's a little bit more resistant to like the weather and outside situations, but maybe it's not gonna be like that durable as an actual like concrete house. So I think that's a good middle ground. And maybe again, some people do prefer like how it looks like a wooden house and stuff, and they're not thinking about me in like a worst case scenario, what happens down the line. So I want to go that far as saying, like, if you can't like buy that bigger like sturdier house, do not even attempt to like be a homeowner, because again, some people actually may prefer, you know, those like charming wooden houses, which I think I love them as well. I think they're very pretty, but I don't know if I would actually like go for that one. I think it's like, I can stay there for for a while, but I don't know if I would actually like make the commitment of like buying a house or building a wooden house, just because I'd be scared of like the potential like case scenarios. No, maybe I would have to like really think about this through. But yes, this was a very interesting video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.